Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast, where we're here to once again help to educate you so that you feel comfortable and confident in investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And if you've ever wanted to know what it was like to go from a stressful, high-tech industry type of role into the type of role and lifestyle that you can actually enjoy getting up and going to work every day, then this is the show that you're actually going to want to listen to all the way to the very end. Because today's guest not only started in the IT industry in Yahoo, also worked for one of the big four in mergers and acquisitions, and is the co-founder of Women Creating Wealth Together, as well as the founder of Leeward Real Estate Investments. Really happy to invite to the show today Miss Sonia Sohn. Sonia, welcome to the show.
Hey, Billy. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our conversation today. So many things that I know we're going to get a chance to unpack. You have so much experience. You've walked in the steps of a lot of people that are already starting in high-tech roles, and you've been able to create a lifestyle with real estate in a number of different asset classes. So really looking forward to learning from you and having you educate the audience today.
Thank you.
You know what, Sonia? We always love to get started here with the same two questions every single time. In the first question, could you help everybody understand where or what city are you in today?
I'm in a city called Tiburon, which is in Marin County of Northern California. So we're about 15 minutes north of San Francisco, across the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, fantastic. Northern California, once again. Awesome. So thank you for that. And Sonia, what's the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours? I actually had something really fun happen because it was my dad's 75th birthday. Last night, and he lives in Los Angeles, which is about 7-hour drive away. And we couldn't be with him, but all the kids and my husband and I, we put a music video together of his favorite song, Dancing Queen to ABBA.
Oh,
and
cool.
So we had a really good time making the video and then sending it to him as his birthday present. So that was actually a fun activity that we all did as a family, which is, kind of a difficult thing to do these days. So that was a big positive thing.
Awesome. So 75th anniversary, doing ABBA. That's fantastic. And it's always interesting, right, to put the perspective on things, because living here in Europe, thinking that you're in the same state and you travel 8 hours and you're still in the same state. Like if I traveled 8 hours from here, I would be 4 countries away.
Yeah.
So, so thanks for giving us that perspective.
Exactly. Yeah.
Phenomenal. So I know that we got started and telling a little bit at a really, really high level, Sonia, about your experience, your journey. Would love for you to share with the Going Long audience. Give us a little bit of your backstory so we can understand kind of what are some of the things that you've done, decisions you've made that have gotten you to this point in your journey.
Sure. I started out as a lawyer. So I went to a Big 5 accounting firm to practice tax law. We did mergers and acquisition assistance to big corporations. And I also did a stint at Yahoo, as you mentioned. I was not a tech person, but I was in their back office doing legal stuff, tax stuff. And all of that amounted to be an okay career, but it wasn't something that I was thoroughly excited about. And for the most part, I felt like I wasn't a really good lawyer. That wasn't exactly my calling. I was okay at it, and the subject matter was pretty interesting, but it wasn't, again, something that I thought I had a special talent for or something that I was excited about. So all of that came to an end when the final push came to shove, which was when my daughter was born. And I realized that in order to really excel at my career, I would have to sacrifice a lot of family time to be successful in a legal career or in high tech or what have you. Just spending a lot of time with your office people, and it's just very demanding. So I wanted something flexible that would get me more time with my family and have more time under my control. And also something that I thought I would be good at, particularly using my talent. I didn't know what that was, but I knew it wasn't in the practice of law. So I decided to learn about real estate and investing in real estate. And it was really a simple impetus of understanding that people want something in their homes, but they don't really know how to get it. And understanding that even fixing a little thing in your own home could be a daunting task, whereas somebody outside of home does it, and it's just a simple objective business approach. So I started doing that. I started fixing up old homes. Nowadays, you call that flipping here in the US. At that time, it was just fix up an old house. That led to ground up construction of new homes, because I realized that flipping homes actually has a lot of risk, because you don't really know what you're dealing with until you open up walls and start actually doing the work. And the cost of fixing things or improving things could be wildly fluctuating depending on what you find. So a ground up new construction was much easier to control the cost. So I did that. Then 2008 hit, which meant all the capital for spec building and development dried up for real estate. But the banks were still financing investment in multifamily, income cash flowing properties. So that led me to invest in multifamily for cash flowing investment purposes. And so that's what led me to where I am today, which is investing in multifamily, including some of the other type of asset classes like hotels and little variation of multifamily like student housing.
So, so it's pretty interesting there. So there are a couple of things that really resonate with me when you're talking about the whole genesis of this, right? You were in a job that you were very well trained for, right? I mean, in terms of law, and you were in a career in the high tech industry that you got a sense of it, although you maybe weren't out there in the front line, you were part of that industry, and you just realized in your heart that there was something that wasn't right. And that all crystallized when your daughter was born, and you realized that you wanted to have more control, you wanted to have more time, and you wanted to be more present.
Right.
And so that's something that so many people go through all of the time. And you were fortunate enough to be able to figure out something that you were able to use. Some of the skills that you had learned before, you were able to use your own personality, and you were also able to get involved in an asset class that could provide you the lifestyle. So you realized you went through the fixing and flipping of today, and realized, well, there's a lot of risk with that. And then you got into something closer to what you liked, which was the ground up development. And then realized after 2008, hey, listen, there's financing opportunities in this multifamily space. And so this is something that you wanted to be a part of. And I know you mentioned a couple of the things, but I know you mentioned multifamily, you mentioned hotels, student housing. And I know that there are also some other asset classes that you have been involved in as well, just to kind of help people understand, like mobile home parks and RV parks and things like that as well. So
yeah, there's so many options in real estate, as you know. I mean, we say real estate as if it's one type of asset, but within real estate, there's just so many different things you could invest in, and also different approaches you can have to the investment of that, or your real estate career in general. So I love the flexibility of it. Even within, there's just so much you can do. And as I just said, I moved on from rehabbing a home to hotels and development of other types of big commercial property. So everything in between, there's so many choices, and people have different interests and different angles that they might be able to have. And it's always so interesting to me because where the capital flows to also has a lot of decision-making impact on how you invest in real estate.
So you're kind of reading my mind already, because when you are within an asset class, but you have a number of different types of assets that you can choose from, I was really wanted to know kind of what is maybe some of the key criteria that will allow you to realize, hey, listen, this is an area where we want to go. So you talked about financing already. Other things that help you to determine whether it's going to be a mobile home park or whether it's going to be a multifamily building?
Yeah, absolutely. It has a lot to do with what's going on in the economy. So, for example, as I mentioned in 2008, 2009, the banks were not willing to lend for construction, but they're willing to lend for a stabilized income producing property. So you realize, okay, well, there's an opportunity there. There's still no demand for multifamily at that time, but there's financing available and people need a place to live. So in fact, as a matter of fact, as people lost their homes and foreclosures and such, the rental units were more in demand. So that obviously led to the conclusion, well, there's money to be borrowed and there's cash flowing to be had. There's demand there. So it was almost no-brainer to invest in something like that. And as we look in our economy right now, affordable housing is a big crisis. So at least in this country, I don't know how it is in Europe, but I would imagine something similar as population grows. So our strategy has been to invest in more affordable housing, which points to mobile home parks. It's really the last frontier of affordable houses that people can actually own. So we've been investing in things like that, and also just taking advantage of what other people are not paying attention to. Mobile home park is a good example because not only is it a different type of asset class, it's not something you normally would be able to say, oh, there's a house there and I'm going to go buy it. But you kind of have to have you have to have special knowledge to how to operate it. You have to have a little bit of courage to go a little bit differently than what your normal average real estate investor would target. So that could give you a little bit of advantage in terms of price and the value that you get for your capital.
Okay, so those are a couple of interesting things, right? To go beyond what we were talking about before and just building on that when you talk about the economy. So helping our audience, once again, these are some of the things that are really important, not just where the money is going, but also what's happening in the economy. And then this is also key. It's when you talk about looking at opportunities or going where other people are not going, right? Because that can be one of the areas where there are opportunities. You mentioned one thing, Sonia, and just to help some of our audience, you talked about a stabilized asset. When you talk about a stabilized asset, help us understand what that means when you're talking about multifamily.
Sure. When you have to build a new apartment complex, for example, there's not only the risk of going through the construction and the building process, but once you build it, you go through the leasing period, where it could take upwards of 12 or 24 months even, depending on the size of your building, that it takes to fill up those units with renters. Because just because you have 100 units ready one day doesn't mean you're going to get 100 units filled in the next day. So when I say a stabilized asset, it means it's been in operations for a while. It has at least 12 months of track record of having certain stable amount of demand or rent revenue. And also on the expense side, it has stable historical facts that you could refer back to project what the income is going to look like in the next 12 months. So I refer that as a stabilized asset.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that clarification. So one of the other things, so you looked at a number of different asset classes, knowing that you started in Northern California with the fixing and flipping. And then a number of the different, can you give us an idea for the different assets that you are managing geographically? Kind of where are they today?
Sure. Most of the properties that I directly manage are here in California. I started branching out to different parts of the country because housing and real estate in Northern California, Southern California, all around, it just became too expensive. It started to not make cash flow sense because the cost is so high. And so at really compressed cap rate of 3-4%, it's really it's difficult to have a positive cash flow coming in from an investment of a property. So that caused me to look outside of California. And when I started to do that, I realized that there are much more valuable properties outside of California in other attractive cities, but with, again, less capital cost to purchase the property. So we've invested in Carson City, Nevada, which is a neighboring state. But as far as Indiana, with a good partner of ours, and also we've gone as far as Louisiana in making the investment. So we've kind of ventured out quite far. State of Ohio, we also have a mobile home park investment.
Okay. All right. So then when you are continuing to live in California, your assets are in other states, right? I live in Barcelona, Spain, and I do the same thing. I have assets that are back. We're waiting for you to come over and visit.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So right. I know that for you, one of the really important parts of being able to go beyond your backyard, to be able to look to team with others is exactly that, is teaming. And so I know that teaming is something that it's necessary when you're going long distance. I also know that it's something that's not really the easiest thing in the world. Right. So I'm just curious, kind of if you could share with us kind of what your experiences is. I've had highs, I've had lows, but that whole part of teaming, when you're going to go long, you're going to go beyond your backyard and you're going to invest in other, maybe it's the same asset class or a different asset class, but you're going long distance. Kind of talk to us a little bit about your experience there, some of the things that you experienced.
Yeah, definitely had my highs and lows. And I do think that it is not the easiest thing to go to outside of your geographical area, basically outside of your comfort zone. It involves a lot of different type of risks when you go outside of your geographical area. Even if it's the same asset class, say multifamily, the customs and culture of that city and state might be totally different. Weather is different. And so, for example, we have an investment in Indiana, and we've learned through that investment that winter season is a virtually non-lease renewal, non-moving season, because winters are pretty brutal there. And having been in California, it's something we just simply don't realize. What do you mean people don't move in January? Why not?
Yeah, I'm from Columbus, Ohio. I can tell you why not.
Yeah. You might have a little hint as to why with your experience. Yeah. So things like that. And also understanding that if you have a lot of vacant units in the wintertime, you're just going to end up paying a really high utility cost because you have to still keep the property heated. But nobody's paying for that utility. So things like that. There's a lot of nuances that I wouldn't know, not having lived nor invested in Indiana. So that would be some of the difficult risks that risks and problems that I would overlook. We can overcome that kind of problems with somebody who lives and invests in Indiana, and that's where the partnership comes. They have local knowledge, know how to manage properties like that in that environment, also have resources. They have people who work for them or contractors who could come to their calling when there's problems. So I think partnering with somebody who's local in that area is very essential. In my past, I have made a big mistake in investing in a market that I did not know without a partner, and that property literally burned down to the ground. Both figuratively and literally.
And literally.
Well, it didn't exactly have a fire per se, but it had lots of things go wrong, like pipe bursting and people coming in to steal the copper pipes, and it was a nightmare situation. And I felt so out of control because I couldn't do much about it, and you could direct your property manager only so much. And at the end of the day, it's not their property. So they're not gonna do that much. They're not gonna do things that they're not paid for. So that was a crucial and expensive experience for me. And since then, I would not go outside of my geographical area unless I have somebody who I know has a stake in that investment, their skin in the game as well, because only then would they take care of and manage that property as well as I would.
I love that comment, right? And so there's a couple things to even unpack there just really quickly. Number one, you were looking beyond California because you were looking for higher yields. You realized that what you were looking to do and create cash flow was difficult for you at that particular point in time. So teaming was the next way to be able to solve that problem. Once you've done that, then you've been able to learn through that experience that, hey, listen, it's really important to make sure that you have a local knowledge and understanding. And most importantly, and I completely agree with you on this, Sonia, having someone local that has local knowledge, local contacts, local resources, it's absolutely key. So that's something that you can continue to pass on to other people, right? And that's something that you can utilize for your own business opportunities, teaming, mentoring, coaching other people. And you also said something that was really key when you talk about beyond your comfort zone. Like, don't do things, people shouldn't be going places where they're not comfortable just because they're chasing higher yields. So I completely agree with you there as well. And, just so I mentioned kind of mentoring and coaching, and I know you're doing things not just in the real estate, not just for financial return, but also to be able to go out and make an impact. And I mentioned at the top of the show that you are the co-founder of Women Creating Wealth Together. And I know that that's a passion project for you as well. So maybe talk to us a little bit about what's the driver there and what's your mission?
Well, our mission is to push everybody beyond their comfort zone so they could change their lives and do things that they don't perhaps think about, but it certainly is possible. So that's our mission, is to energize people to go beyond their comfort zone. And it is exactly to encourage people to do things like go outside of your geographical area to invest, go meet people, go think about ways that you can achieve something that you didn't think it was possible before. And I think that takes discussions and encouragement from people that you know and trust. And so our passion project is about that, creating a forum where we can talk about not only educating people about investing in real estate, but also to be able to approach each other in a comfortable way. And so my partner, Joe Hausman, and I, we host a show. We talk about certain topics relate to real estate, but we also talk a lot about emotionally how one might feel if they're doing something like thinking about investing. It's a scary prospect. If you've never done it and you're about to sink a lot of capital into something that you haven't tried before, and there are usually a lot of people around you saying, oh, that's a risky endeavor, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Well, we're sitting around saying, yeah, it is really scary, and people are going to say things, but maybe they're right, maybe they're not. And I had this experience. How about you? And so by talking about it, we encourage each other to make their own decisions and go out to get the information that they need, and not just sit around and be afraid and not make any move. So that's our passion project. And it's a lot of fun because we get to talk about a lot of experiences, mistakes we've made, and about our feelings about how each step has been taken in our lives and what emotional experiences we've had. So hopefully that's helpful for other women who hasn't been exposed to the world of investing and people who have done it before.
And so I think it's a wonderful initiative. You and Joe both, I know that's something that you're deeply passionate about. And I can say that having had your friendship and mentorship, that we're knowing the fact that I've been able to talk to you about things when I was looking at confronting new situations and things like that. And as a group, to be able to put all of that together, that knowledge, that drive, that wanting to help one another so that everyone can continue to move forward. It's something that is extremely powerful and extremely positive. So
really is. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have that when I started out almost 20 years ago. And just having that one friend who may have done it before, just being able to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, what do you think about this or that?" That is huge, because that makes it real. And when you don't have anything around you, or that one person that you could call, it makes a world of difference. And we just wanted to provide beginning investors, and especially women who are normally not thinking about investment still, giving them that opportunity to talk about it and hear about it from other women, we thought was really important.
Well, it's fantastic. Like I said, in knowing both you and Joe and the value that you're putting in and the passion that you have for helping the community is something that's going to continue to give lots and lots of value from now for a long time to come. So, so listen, Sonia, a couple of things, like, I guess kind of the next question before we get ready to round things up here is, what's next for you?
Well, that is always a hard question. I'm always thinking about what's next for me, and it changes all the time. So that's why it's so hard. Right now, there's this COVID-19 pandemic going on, and it's really hard to anticipate how the world's going to change and how the investment world is going to change. So I'm trying to anticipate that. I do know there will be lots of opportunities coming down the pipeline. I don't know exactly when that is. So I'm trying to prepare for that. I would love to continue what I'm doing, which is to invest in multifamily and in markets that are gonna be up and coming. We're eyeing Salt Lake City, Utah. I think is going to be a great market. We also love the Phoenix area in Arizona. Lots of senior housing opportunities there because most of seniors west of Mississippi end up in Arizona. Yep. So we, eyeing those opportunities, kind of anticipating what the next drive for the demand would be. So that's what's next in line for me, and providing people, friends and family with opportunities to invest in that also. It's always gratifying. And we're also thinking about, building on this concept of providing the forum to other women to talk about it and think about it more. Mentoring has become a big passion of mine because I've had a couple of mentees who really it is so energizing for me because they're so hungry and they want to learn. And it is so awesome and gratifying to watch that and enable that to happen. So I think that's going to be a next big thing for me as well.
There you go. Continue always looking to contribute to others, and whether that is for looking at new opportunities in terms of the marketplace for families and friends, as well as being able to mentor others that's just kind of at your core. So that is par for the course. So there's a couple of things. Actually, we just came back from Maui not too long ago, and we went
Lucky
through.
You.
We went through. We went through. We haven't gone too many places since then, by the way. But that was nice. On the way back through, we stopped in Phoenix, and I had not been to Phoenix in, I guess it'd probably been 10 years or so. And it's amazing the amount of activity and the amount of just growth that is happening. You literally feel it. We had I think it was 8 or 9 hours of layover flying from Maui, coming back to Barcelona through London, and met up with some great friends. It was phenomenal. It had a wonderful lunch. And I just remember, goodness gracious, there's so much activity and positive things that are happening. And then I started asking some questions, of course, and finding out it's more business friendly and these types of things. And I thought, interesting. It's not that far from Barcelona. It's 2 flights, but it's pretty direct. Awesome. So that's cool. So thanks for that, helping us to understand a little bit more about what's next for you. And Sonia, before I guess I always like to ask my final three questions, but I never ask the going long final three unless you tell me that you're ready to answer the questions. So are you ready?
I am.
All right.
I'm ready without knowing what those questions are.
Yeah. I think you were born ready. Don't worry. They're not too difficult. First question. Knowing that I live in Barcelona and I love investing in U.S. real estate, and I think it's important to also build that bridge to help us understand, with you being based in the U.S., what is your favorite European city?
Oh, okay. Well, that's really easy because it's where you are.
Hey, another vote for Barcelona. I love this.
My big grand plan, and you know this too, is to move there in a few years. I really want to experience living in Barcelona. I love the culture. I love the geography. I love the food and the music, everything about it. So I can't wait to, obviously I visited a couple of times at least, and I can't wait to actually go there and experience living there for a while.
Well,
So
we're ready for you. Awesome. All right. Another vote for Barcelona. Fantastic. You've mentioned a couple of things already about, some people call them learning opportunities. Some people call them mistakes, depending on what's going on. But whatever they are, you paid full price for them. And everybody, it's up to each person to decide whether or not they want to take on the opportunities, mentees you talked about before. But if you could pass along one lesson that you've learned that you paid full price for, that someone else may not have to pay full price for, could you share what that lesson would be?
Yeah, sure. I think, well, there's lots of lessons I would like to teach people so they don't.
Just one.
I would say be really careful picking your partners, because no matter how good a project is, if you pick a partner whose interest does not align with yours, every single step is going to be very painful and stressful. And that's not something you want to be involved in. And it's also when things do go wrong, it's really difficult to untangle yourself from that partner. There's usually lawsuits involved. And it's not just a matter of picking somebody who's criminal or anything like that, although that could happen. But just making sure your interests are aligned, because if you have different values or different objective, then it's really easy to be in discordance every step of the way. And that's painful. That's definitely not fun. So I would say make sure your partner shares your value, objective, and also your interests are aligned.
Okay. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm just going to ask really quick follow-up question to that, just really quickly. And because this is something that's absolutely key, it's something that we hear frequently. We know that that's what to do. Is there something that you could recommend to figure out how you can check that interests are aligned, knowing now what you know that you didn't know before?
To make sure your interests are
Correct.
aligned.
Yes.
I would say definitely have the partner have their skin in the game. So it's my personal thing, but everybody has to have their money in the investment, because only then you truly understand how important that property is to that person who has money in the game. So I would say that's one sure way of aligning your interest. There's always sweat equity. They bring their expertise to the game and all of that, but I want that person to invest also.
Okay. Got it. Perfect. Thank you very much. And just wanted to get another little bit to help others moving forward. Then the last question, Sonia, what book are you recommending nowadays?
Ooh, there's a lot of books. I've recently taken a huge interest in a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. It's eye-opening and it's mind-blowing. There's just so much in that book that kind of teaches you the human behavior, what really works, even within ourselves. It's way too much information to get into it now, but I recommend that book to anybody who's thinking about, it's just an interesting book too, but human psychology, behavioral psychology, but it's really applicable to businesses and how you might want to expand your business and how you might want to run it. So I would say that's a great book to pick up.
Awesome. Love that book as well. So I think if you're watching this on the video, you can see it over here, over my shoulder. It's one of those books that are over the shoulder. And if you're not watching us on the video, you should actually join us on the YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, and you'll see us here on the video as well. So, so many great things that you've shared with us today, Sonia, from your professional background, having been able to go from the big four, the IT, into an area that you wanted to have more control over your time, more flexibility to be able to spend more time with your family. You found that through a number of the different types of assets within real estate world. You've been able to start in your own backyard. You've expanded beyond your backyard. You realized the importance of teams and really understanding the local markets, making sure you have the right resources. And you've helped us to gain more insight into what it takes to be successful. And because of all the things that you've shared with us, I know I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy being able to try and figure out how I can get time in your calendar. And everyone else that's watching us and listening is thinking the exact same thing. So can you please help us all understand what is the best way, Sonia, for us to learn more about you, to get in touch with you, so that we can connect with you?
Well, you can go to my website, leewardrei.com. That's LEEWARDREI.com. And we have our company information as well as my bio and my partner's bio there, the type of assets that we've invested in. And of course, we would love for you to go to www.womencreatingwealthtogether.com. That's where Joe Hossman and I have our show, Women Creating Wealth Together.com. And we have our video content there, and we have our mission. You can talk to us, ask us questions, give us feedback. But we also have a Facebook page by the same name. So we would love to talk to everybody who has an interest in real estate or investing, and have a forum to talk.
It's wonderful, and I know that I am a member there as well. So it's great to be able to have a very clear focus, and also being able to be a part of a community that is focused on helping and making sure that all together we can help women to continue to go out and create wealth together. So so fantastic, and we're going to include all of those ways to contact you in the show notes as well. Sonia, I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us, to be here with the Going Long podcast with our audience. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun to talk to you, Billy, as always.
Fantastic. Cool. And so for everybody else as well in the Going Long audience, do us a favor. Go out. We want to continue to grow the community. We want to continue to grow with like-minded people. So if you can just take a second, literally, to share the show with at least 2 other people, right? I know that you know 2 people. And that way we're going to get to have more people that are like-minded, so we can grow and continue to help one another. So once again, this is Billy Keels. I am really excited to welcome you on the next episode. And in the meantime, go out and make it a great day. Thanks a lot.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.